Okay, let's try to unpack this. The Diddy trial. It really kicked off with Cassie Ventura's testimony, which was incredibly powerful, but it feels like it's ballooning into something much, much bigger now, doesn't it?
It really does. It's like we're seeing more than just one person's story. It's become about a whole culture, maybe a
Mhm.
culture of silence around someone really powerful.
Exactly. That phrase, the scorched courtroom after Cassie spoke. Wow, that really paints a picture, right?
It absolutely does. You can feel the weight behind that, the potential impact. And what's really striking, like you said, is how quickly it expanded beyond just the initial, the core
Yeah.
accusations.
And that's what we're really getting into today on the deep dive. We're focusing on, well, the key developments, especially all these celebrity names that keep popping up. We're basing this on that YouTube transcript that just dropped.
Super recent, yeah.
Think of this as your shortcut to grasping what's really going on in this whole complex, fast-moving situation.
Right. We know you, the listener, are probably trying to make sense of all the headlines flying around. It's a lot. So our goal here is really just to provide some clarity, a structure to understand the bigger picture without getting, bogged down.
Exactly. And our source, like I said, that YouTube transcript, it says 1 minute ago, so it's about as fresh as it gets. It covers that whole first week and hints at some pretty big stuff still to come.
So yeah, we're going to break down the really crucial stuff from week one. We'll be looking closely at the celebrities mentioned, why they were brought up, and
Yeah.
sort of what their connection, even just being near it all, actually means.
Okay, let's start right there. Cassie Ventura, her testimony, she's still kind of the epicenter of all this, isn't she?
Oh, absolutely. Central.
Huh.
Her testimony laid out what she claims was, well, a decade of abuse, coercion, psychological control, just really intense stuff.
And all happening apparently within this incredibly lavish world, this sort of facade, hiding something much darker underneath.
Exactly. She talked about these alleged uh, freak-off sex parties, drug use, this constant, like, violent control. It wasn't presented as isolated incidents, more like a whole environment.
Right. A sustained atmosphere. And the specific claims were heavy too. Being drugged, recorded without consent, forced into sexual situations. These are, very serious allegations.
Extremely serious. And they really formed the bedrock of the case against Diddy.
And then, of course, there was that hotel hallway incident, the security footage. It went viral. That seemed to really hit differently, didn't it, seeing it?
Oh, yeah. Seeing that footage. It provides this stark visual that seems to align with her description of that alleged pursuit, that fear. It shifts it. It's not just words anymore. There's a visual element there that carries a lot of weight.
Then, sort of out of the blue, Kevin Hart shows up in court. That was definitely not expected.
No, quite a surprise. And his statement, that bit about rooms we should have run from and the currency of silence. Wow. That really resonated, I think. It tapped into that broader idea of, well, maybe complicity, or at least looking the other way in these powerful circles.
It raises questions about how that currency of silence actually works, What are the incentives to just stay quiet in that kind of world?
But then the defense immediately went after him, didn't they?
Yeah.
Trying to use texts, party footage,
Hmm.
basically questioning his knowledge, the timing, suggesting maybe he had other motives.
Right. It felt like they were trying to poke holes in his credibility, suggesting he didn't really know or maybe just jumped on board later.
Which makes you wonder about the defense strategy. Is it just about discrediting Hart specifically? Or is it a broader attempt to cast doubt on anyone who might speak out, regardless of what they actually saw or knew?
It almost felt like they were trying to say, see, people were around, they didn't see anything, maybe implying it wasn't happening or it wasn't obvious. But, doesn't that kind of reinforce Hart's point anyway? How easy it might be not to see or to choose not to see.
Precisely. The very act of trying so hard to discredit someone like him kind of highlights the power dynamics we're talking about. It
Yep.
shows what might happen if you do break that alleged silence.
Okay, so this is where it really starts to branch out, right? The trial begins looking beyond just Diddy himself, focusing more on the system around him, and boom, suddenly we have this whole list of other celebrity names being thrown around.
Yeah, and the transcript suggests these weren't just like random name drops. It seems there were specific reasons these names came up in court.
Right. Seems like they fall into a few buckets, just being near Diddy, maybe influencing the jury because they're famous, giving context to Cassie's story, or like we saw with Hart, being part of the defense's strategy.
Let's take Kanye West, or Ye.
Yeah.
His name popped up in a kind of interesting way.
It really did. Releasing that track with Diddy's son on a prison call right after all this intensified, that definitely got people talking. Was it loyalty? solidarity, or, maybe something more calculated, trying to control the narrative.
And what's really telling is the jury was specifically asked about their views on Kanye. That suggests the court knew this connection was relevant, not because he's accused of anything, but because of how it might influence the jury's perception. Their whole history, professional, personal, even spiritual, adds layers, you know.
Okay, then Kid Cudi, his connection feels much more, well, direct and pretty disturbing, actually.
hmm Cassie testified about dating him, and Diddy's alleged reaction threatening to blow that mother's car up. And then you hear about Kid Cudi's car mysteriously catching fire back in 2012.
Yeah, which at the time was apparently just an accident, right? But hearing Cassie's testimony now, it completely changes how you see that incident. Suddenly it looks, well, possibly sinister. It raises huge questions about intimidation.
It really recontextualizes it, doesn't it? It goes from maybe an unfortunate event to a potential piece of a pattern. The transcript even flags the question of whether Cudi himself might be called to testify. That could be significant.
Michael B. Jordan's name came up too, also linked to Cassie dating someone else.
Yeah, according to her testimony, her brief relationship with him also allegedly provoked a violent reaction from Diddy. It feeds into that alleged pattern of control and Cassie's fear, not just for herself, but for others connected to her.
Okay, but then Bruce Willis and Eddie Murphy, that felt weirdly placed.
It did seem a bit strange. The defense brought them up when questioning Cassie about co-parenting. It looked like they were trying to paint her as, I don't know, envious or maybe manipulative about wanting to be involved with Diddy's kids.
But did it work? It almost felt like it backfired, dragging two more huge names into it unnecessarily. It kind of highlighted the defense's tactics, maybe. Makes you wonder what the goal was there.
It's interesting how people with seemingly no direct link to the alleged crimes get pulled in as reference points in the courtroom drama.
And Prince, performing at his house.
Mm.
That sounds like it should have been an amazing moment for Cassie.
Huge opportunity. A dream, she called it. But the fact she apparently felt she had to hide it from Diddy because she was scared of how he'd react, that says a lot about the alleged control.
And then her fears were apparently realized. The alleged violence happening at Prince's house. There's something about the location that makes it feel even more violating. Like nowhere was safe or sacred from Diddy's alleged possessiveness.
Yeah, the privacy associated with Prince's space definitely adds another layer of impact to that specific allegation.
And Britney Spears, just her being at Cassie's 21st birthday party, it sort of illustrates how deeply embedded Diddy was, right, in that absolute A-list celebrity world.
Totally. It shows the environment Cassie was in, the sheer level of fame and influence around Diddy. The transcript mentions this might have been a moment Cassie realized just how integrated he was, how maybe untouchable he seemed.
Exactly. And again, the point isn't that these celebs did anything wrong. It's that their presence paints a picture of the network Diddy moved in, a network that perhaps, even unintentionally, might have shielded his alleged actions.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. We're also seeing former associates starting to speak out more. Specifically, the women from Danity Kane.
Right. Aubrey O'Day, she's been pretty outspoken for a while, but her recent comments seem to hit harder now, calling Diddy soulless, talking about the toxic work environment, the alleged manipulation.
It suggests a possible pattern extending beyond just his personal relationships into his professional dealings. And now Dawn Richard has joined a civil suit, making some really serious claims herself.
Dawn Richard's involvement feels like a potential game changer, doesn't it? She's not just talking about her own experience, alleged sexual abuse, bad working conditions. She's claiming she personally witnessed Diddy abusing Cassie.
That is a crucial piece. Eyewitness testimony about the core allegations. That carries enormous weight. It's not just about their time in the group anymore. She's alleging direct observation of the abuse that's central to this whole thing.
And it makes you look back at things Aubrey said years ago, like that 2019 clip about Diddy being able to break you with a look. Suddenly that sounds less like, sour grapes and more like maybe an early warning sign.
Exactly. If these women end up testifying in the criminal case, it could really shift the narrative. It moves from one accuser's word against his to potentially showing a documented, long-standing pattern of alleged abuse. That could be huge.
And the focus is also turning towards Diddy's sons, Christian King Combs and Justin Combs. Remember when they were detained during that mansion raid? Seemed like a side note then.
But now, with Christian facing that 2024 lawsuit alleging sexual assault on a yacht, Diddy reportedly chartered things feel much more serious. It raises big questions about Diddy's awareness, maybe even enablement.
Right. The location a yacht Diddy chartered definitely makes you ask about the environment he fostered. And Justin, while not named in lawsuits like that, the fact that feds are reportedly looking at his communications with Diddy, that's significant too.
It suggests investigators are casting a wide net, looking at the whole circle around Diddy. Was their facilitation a cover-up? The transcript even brings up the potential for Aikido charges, that's the Organized Crime Act, if evidence points to Diddy orchestrating or covering up criminal activity involving others, like his sons.
Wow. And imagine the pressure on the sons, potentially being asked to testify.
Yeah, that would be an incredibly tough spot. Huge legal implications either way, you'd think.
So looking forward, the transcript suggests there's a lot more evidence still coming out. This investigation is far from over.
Definitely. More subpoenas, more depositions confirmed. That means more people being compelled to talk. And the heavy hitters are involved: Homeland Security, the FBI digging into digital evidence.
Yeah.
That's serious.
And the tunnels. Okay, the rumors were wild, but now we hear architectural plans, security staff confirming tunnels under the mansion.
And what they might be looking for in there: video files, client lists, maybe NDAs. That kind of stuff could be explosive if they find concrete digital evidence supporting the allegations. That could absolutely be a turning point, moving beyond testimony to hard proof.
And the whispers about even more big names potentially being involved. Moguls, execs, people from those infamous white parties or private island trips. It hints that this network could be way wider than we even know now.
And the prosecution hinting at new narratives coming in week 2. That suggests more people might be coming forward, maybe expanding the timeline of alleged abuse even further back. The story is clearly still unfolding.
It really feels like this whole situation has massive implications, way beyond just Diddy. It's about celebrity culture, power, silence, all of it.
Totally agree. What comes out of this could genuinely reshape things in the entertainment industry, how we view power dynamics.
So just to wrap up the key takeaways from this deep dive, we've seen this explosion of celebrity names linked to the trial for all sorts of reasons. We've got former associates like Danity Kane members bringing forward really serious allegations, including eyewitness accounts. Diddy's sons are under scrutiny, and there's this potentially crucial emerging digital evidence, like whatever might be in those tunnels.
Yeah, hopefully this discussion has helped you, the listener, piece things together a bit more, giving you some context beyond just the quick headlines.
Right, and maybe here's something to chew on. As this alleged system gets exposed, how might that actually change the entertainment world moving forward? What does it really mean when, like the source said, the lights come on and secrets that were maybe kept for years start spilling out into the open? Definitely something to think about.